Hello, my name is Melin. I'm with the Illinois Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse, and we're here at the Cook County Courthouse, the home of the sixth worst judicial hellhole in the entire country. And we're talking today because we are releasing our economic impact report. And we hired economists to go through and analyze the impact to everybody in Illinois about the cost of our really poor civil justice system. And the numbers are striking. $42.1 billion in lost gross domestic product. We have over 2,000 jobs lost every year because of our poor civil justice system. And maybe most strikingly, every single person in Cook County in Illinois pays almost $2,000 extra every single year in what we call a tort tax because of higher costs and lost opportunity deriving from our poor civil justice system. And I want to give you a pristine example of how we have a poor civil justice system here in Illinois. The Illinois legislature in the middle of the night, right before the deadline, passed a new bill called Senate Bill 328. That gives jurisdictions to people out of state to bring their cases here in Cook County in Illinois, even if they have nothing to do, if the injury or damage had nothing to do with Illinois. And what does that mean? That puts everybody who has legitimate claims, people who live in Cook County, people who are trying to get justice, it puts them at the back of the line behind these out-of-state plaintiffs who are only here because they know that they can get these gigantic nuclear verdicts here, and the plaintiffs' attorneys across the country know that this is the place to bring where the scales of justice are tilted in their favor. So please pay attention. Pay attention to Illinois Citizens Lawsuit Abuse at CALA.com/Illinois, and make sure you think about it when you're voting next. Thanks. Hello, my name is Melin. I'm with the Illinois Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse, and we're here at the Cook County Courthouse, the home of the sixth worst judicial hellhole in the entire country. The Illinois legislature in the middle of the night, right before the deadline, passed a new bill called Senate Bill 328. That gives jurisdictions to people out of state to bring their cases here in Cook County in Illinois, even if they have nothing to do, if the injury or damage had nothing to do with Illinois. And what does that mean? That puts everybody who has legitimate claims, people who live in Cook County, people who are trying to get justice, it puts them at the back of the line behind these out-of-state plaintiffs who are only here because they know that they can get these gigantic nuclear verdicts here, and the plaintiffs' attorneys across the country know that this is the place to bring. The problem is that, and if I want to thank the Chicago Tribune for their great reporting on this last year, Cook County courthouses are horribly administrated, and they're behind, they're swamps, and the access to justice for everyday Illinoisans here in Cook County is delayed and denied so often. So if you're a family law case, or if you have a personal injury, or if you have a business dispute, it can take months, it can take years to get your case heard and tried here in the Cook County Courthouse. And that really makes everything more expensive, delays justice, and is a problem. So what does SB 328 do to the people who are trying to waiting their turn, waiting in line, like they're at some sort of like theme park or something, waiting and waiting and waiting? Is that they're being put to the back of the line. They're going to be behind a new influx of dozens, hundreds of new lawsuits that have nothing to do with Illinois and are only being brought in these courthouses because of the predatory lawsuit, the opportunity to get the verdicts that they can't get maybe back home. And so this is really a piece of legislation. When you look at the Illinois legislature, you're like, why would they put Illinois people, why would they delay their justice for the sake of these predatory law firms and lawyers? And the answer, we think, is pretty simple. If you look, our organization, Illinois Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse, put out a report just earlier this year called Follow the Money. And we looked at what the Illinois Trial Lawyers Association, the lobby organization for the plaintiffs' trial lawyers, and how much money they've been giving to the Illinois legislators. And it's over $1 million in the last legislative session, especially giving to the leaders and directed to the people who are introduced this 328 in the middle of the night. And so really what we're seeing, I think, is a clear-cut example of Illinois legislators prioritizing campaign contributions over what's in the best interest of the small businesses and the everyday citizens of Illinois. And if you think, hey, listen, this is not a big deal for me. I never go to the courts here in Cook County or Madison County, so it's not really going to impact me unless I get hurt or something, but that's pretty tenuous. We believe differently. We hired some economists to analyze the cost of our horrible civil justice system here in Illinois. And the numbers are striking. What the economists found in the economic impact report that we're releasing today are that Illinois lost $24.1 billion in gross domestic product because of our poor civil justice system. And I can explain how that happens in a little bit. 208,000 jobs were not created or lost because of businesses trying to go elsewhere, hiring people elsewhere because they don't want to do business here in Illinois because of our poor justice system. And maybe something that hits direct home, and this is the takeaway number I think that is the most important, is that the economic report economists analyzed that every single person in Illinois pays a tort tax of $1,119 every single year. And it's actually gone up this year. And what does that mean? So like when a business in Illinois has to, they get sued and their insurance company wants to the next year, they want to get insured next year. The insurance company is going to charge them more because they've got sued and they do business in this place of Illinois where the plaintiff attorneys run the show. And so the business has to pay more to do business in here in Illinois. And so they have to pass on those costs to every single one of us. And that's just a micro example of how everything gets more expensive for everybody in Illinois because of our poor civil justice system. So as in conclusion, I want to thank everybody for coming today and want to just highlight a couple things. SB 328 is going to be going before the governor. We hope he pays attention to this, understands this bill, and sees what's really going on as he's considering what to do on this bill, because this is actually a bill that is, we talked before, it's not good for the people of Illinois and it's only good for a very small subsect of special interest groups. And second of all, everybody in Illinois really needs to start paying more attention, we hope, at what our legislators are doing in Springfield and how their decisions can help or hurt you. And as cost of living goes up for everybody, the tort tax only exacerbates that. And we can do better. And we encourage you to get involved with our organization to learn more. Again, we're at cala.com/Illinois. Thanks so much for coming, everybody. Appreciate it.
A couple of questions.
Yeah.
So SB 328, if I read it correctly, it says you can be an out-of-state business, headquartered in some other state. The event happens in another state, but they can still sue here as long as the out-of-state company does business in Illinois.
Correct.
Which means they sell whatever that business is. They don't even have to be headquartered here. Right. But what do you think effect this is going to have on business development here in Illinois? I mean, are these businesses just going to say it's not worth it to even do business in your state?
Well, one thing that some businesses might do is they might stop doing business in Illinois altogether. They might say, hey, listen, we don't want to be dragged into Magoo court back here. And it's not worth it. The Illinois economy, the products here in Illinois, the economy here is not good, doesn't generate enough money to overcome the risk. So that would be one risk. As far as like businesses doing business here, if you're a business doing business in Illinois, you already can be sued in Illinois. So it's not going to really impact this particular piece of legislation. It's not going to impact
if you're based in Illinois.
If you're based, or if you have a presence. If you sell something and somebody to an Illinois person and they get injured in Illinois, then you can be sued here, right? But like this is not right. What this is if you're in Texas and you get hurt by allegedly get hurt by some business, as long as that business does some business in Illinois, right? Then you can be sued here in Illinois. So
what about out-of-state businesses that have been looking to even like franchises or whatever, looking to locate a business here? Would they think twice now about doing
It's not going to impact, this bill is not going to impact their decision on that. But Illinois' climate, poor civil justice climate in general, definitely is something. When they think about how easy it is to get sued in Illinois courts and how the access to justice and how the scales of justice are so tilted in favor of the plaintiffs here. Yeah, for sure. If you're a franchise company, you're thinking about states that you want to grow and expand, civil justice climate in Illinois is definitely going to have an impact on your decision.
And looking at this bill, I think if you followed it closely, it looks like it came out of nowhere.
Right. The
last couple of days of the session was added as an amendment onto another bill. Yeah. There was almost no discussion, and I know a lot of the business organizations were really upset with it.
Sure.
And How do you explain, how does that happen in Illinois? Because this happened on another bill a couple of years ago, SB 72, where it was literally introduced like at 2 a.m. during the lame duck session and was passed without discussion. How does this keep happening here?
Yeah. No, that's a fantastic question. So the question was, just for everybody, is that this bill seemed to come out of nowhere. You know, most bills get introduced at the beginning of the year in January, and they debate, they go through committee, everybody gets a chance to weigh in, and then it goes to a vote, you know, if it moves forward. This bill, none of that happened. It just got introduced, and then 2 days later they voted on it. They use little gimmicks like adding it into another bill and amending it so it doesn't. So what happens is it blindsided everybody. And you know what I look about it, and I think it's a great question, is like they're embarrassed. If they were proud of this bill, they would have run it through the normal process. But they're embarrassed because they know what they're doing. They're giving a handout to their donors. The big donors, the big, powerful special interests are coming in and giving them a lot of money. And they want to do a bill that doesn't help, that actually hurts Illinois, delays justice for people who really are hurt, actually hurts the citizens of Illinois, but they want to give a special handout to the trial lawyers. And you know what, when I think about it, it's like, man, what a travesty, right? Like some multi-millionaire plaintiffs, class action lawyer, okay, they were going to make 18 million this year. Now they're going to make 22 million because, like, is that really what we're sending and voting our legislators to do, is to go give those guys special treatment, special interests at the expense of everybody else? I don't think so. So I think they were embarrassed, and they should be ashamed for doing it this way. And we hope the governor sees through all of that when he's evaluating this bill. Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you coming.